Okay, everyone, welcome to our third Workshop Wednesday. Today, I am very excited to bring Namit Bhargavar as part of our customer session. Namit, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So Namit is General Manager over at Wipro in charge of digital transformation. And so I'm very excited to bring Namit on because he and I have worked in the past on multiple Wipro and Topcoder projects for customers. And Namit brings a real strong design vision to everything that he does. And I love his passion for design thinking, and really kind of how design plays into the overall ecosystem of successful projects. And so he has over 21 years of manufacturing experience and just overall, go-to-market experience with a wide range of customers. And I thought his experience with Topcoder and working with myself and working with all of you designers out there would be a great kind of Q&A for anyone that has questions. And I think his overall approach around personas and his approach to design would be very beneficial and educational for everyone here. So Namit, before I kind of get in and ask you some questions, is there anything else you'd like to kind of introduce yourself, or some things you'd like to talk about and kind of tell the designers about yourself?
Definitely. So Adam, thank you for having me here. And I started my career as a developer, as a programmer, and that was many years ago. And as I've progressed through my career, one of the things that I've found is key to success is, are we designing for the end user? Are we conceptualizing for the end user? The output or the product or the tangible thing that we are creating, is it relevant to the end user? And would he or she be delighted when they see it? So earlier, writing a report or creating a form or creating an Excel spreadsheet or uploading purchase orders, these are very IT centric things. And I used to do that, and very often I used to get bored. I was saying, what am I doing? And then I started interacting more and more with the end user, finding out what they want, where they see pauses, what else incremental information they could see that will make their experience very holistic. And I would say over a period of time, I've changed from a developer to more of a person whose goal is to make the end user happy. And that mindset that if my end user is happy based on what I have done, and becomes very my key goal is to make the end user successful. And that philosophy I take in all my projects. And I will share with you some of the examples where I've talked to a CFO of a company and I said, what happens when this happens? And he says, Namit, I have to go to 11 systems to find out that information. So that whole structured approach of thinking what the end user wants, then going back to the drawing board, designing the experience and delighting the customer has been my objective of life. With that, Adam, should we jump in?
Yeah, just for context for the designers out there, Namit and I have worked together on the Vulcan series. So if anybody who competed and was part of that design team for the Vulcan challenges, those the 3 ruxes we ran, and that awesome manufacturing design experience, and also the CFO dashboard. So if those are projects that you're familiar with, Namit was our customer working with an extended customer, so to speak, to make that happen. So let's see here. So yeah, Namit, if you can kind of talk through where your focus is right now and kind of the persona-based services, and I can kind of click through the slides if you want me to continue, just if you want to give a high level. And then I was thinking we could probably jump into the CFO dashboard.
Okay, please. So go to the next one. Next slide, please. So what has happened is earlier you will get a spec and you will code to that spec, and it will go into testing and it will be deployed, and there will be a change management which will monitor the deployment. Now, Over the years, things are changing, and end users who are going to consume those reports, who are going to consume those analytics, or even those apps that you create, they are demanding more personalized experience. They are saying that it needs to exceed my expectation, not meet your expectations. So the paradigm shift that has happened in 5 years, 10 years, and now is 10 years ago, you will get a spec, you will code the spec, you will put it back, and the customer will sign off, and everything will be done. Today, you get a spec, and if you code it to the specifications and give it back without interacting with the end user might have some more requirements, or end user might want to see something differently. So thereby the concept of persona comes in. Persona is nothing but a collection of similar jobs or roles that you build, and you define the persona saying that an account receivable clerk does 10 things, another account receivable clerk does 12 things. So the persona will be a sum of everyone's responsibilities, and you define the persona in organization and say an accounting clerk in this organization, doesn't matter what country, doesn't matter what department, doesn't matter what division, does these 12 set of activities. And once we have defined the persona, then we go on in defining how to make his or her job successful. Next one. So, and then some of the examples of personas are executive. Executive doesn't want details. Another one would be a technology worker who's very savvy, so therefore he can do self-service. A field engineer might be someone who's coming to your house and establishing your dish setup, or establishing your Wi-Fi setup. Or a field engineer might be someone who's coming in and fixing your dishwasher. So each of these personas have different demands based on the job role. And when I get a requirement, I say, what, for whom are we designing this? So a requirement will come to me that we need to create a dashboard for a finance executive. And I will start peeling the onion, like what does the executive do? What kind of apps do they touch on? How do they interact with the systems? Are they on move? Are they sitting somewhere? What is the form factor in which they will be consuming? So the more I interact, the more I get to know what the end user persona wants. And in some of the cases, I am fortunate enough to interview them and understand what they want. So first I define the persona, then I define what services they want, and do a mapping, almost creating a bridge of a persona, his or her needs and wants, the service that they are looking for, and creating a bridge between them. Next one.
So from our side, we know that personas impact our design challenges immensely, right? The more detail we can have and understand the user and understand these personas, our designers, everyone out there right now has more insight or the ability to do additional research. So I think Namit, the detail that you bring, the research that you actually dig into with these customers has been central to the success of the work that you've brought to Topcoder and leveraging the design community. So I just wanted to point that out.
So team, you might be thinking that why do I have to do this? Someone who's writing the challenge needs to do all these things. And that is where you differentiate better from the best. So I challenge myself that I need to understand who the end user is for every request that comes to me. So I can, in my mind, establish what their job is, what their role is, where they sit in the organization, and how can I make them successful. So that is step one of persona. Second one is I look at all the services, IT services, business services that they work upon. So for example, an IT technician might be closing tickets all day, password resets and all those things. Similarly, an account payable executive might be issuing checks for the various invoices they have received. Then once you have defined the persona, once you have defined all the tasks, you map them. And the benefits of doing this mapping is you have a very personalized experience. So on the right side of the screen, you are seeing some of the benefits of doing this exercise. Next slide. How do we do this? From left to right, you define all the end users, the business requirements, and the system of records. System of record, for example, in your day-to-day life, Gmail is a system of record. Outlook is a system of record. If you are going to a database, that is a system of record. Word is a system of record. wherever you are touching and you are creating an instance of a session, that is a system of record. Second thing we do is we do insights and user research. How are the end users consuming it? That is where I get into big discussions as to interviewing people, understanding how their day in a life looks like, finding out where they are getting stuck, and then making sure that when I'm designing anything, all those points are covered. The third column that you see is creating value for both sides. If I am doing what I have asked to do, then I'm just answering the mail. And if I'm answering the mail, then maybe I'm not delighting the customer. How many times you go out to have a burger, and eating a burger is one side, but then the overall experience, the extra mile that the waiter or the waitresses goes to make your eating experience delightful. How many times you ask for water, and the waiter or waitress will ask, do you want a lemon or a slice of lime with that? So those simple things, how do I create additional incremental value from this experience? Then in the fourth column, I co-create the process. So I will create a draft, or I will say this is my vision, and take it back to the person for whom I'm creating, and saying this is how I conceive this will look like. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you want me to add anything? So it is a very agile process, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and taking constructive feedback and keep on improving till the end user says this is exactly what I wanted. Next one is conducting field validation. So once you have a clickable demo ready, or a working MVP ready, doing a field validation with folks that you are not interacting with. So these are entirely new set of folks. So for example, I will create a dashboard for division A, and then I will bounce in field validation. I will bounce it with division B, and I will say, is this something that you would like to have? So that way, I'm not only catering to division A, I'm also creating an opportunity for division B where I can help them get that kind of a dashboard. And then proactively addressing the changing needs. So sometimes some new technologies come in, or they are retiring old technologies and they want a different form factor. So more kind of future proofing. So if I'm creating an interactive dashboard for someone, kind of very casually asking, do you have any hardware upgrade plans for next 6 months, 12 months? Because if you do, then I need to make sure that that kind of a form factor is also taken care of today. Next one.
So I think a key thing here is like, Namit, you're doing this as part of your everyday interaction with customers, and of course diving into personas and really looking at what's going to delight customers. So from a community standpoint, obviously being remote, working around the world, some of these details are sometimes not expressed or conveyed in our challenges. So I think a key thing is for everyone to realize that this is the type of research, even virtually, we should be doing or asking, right? So if a customer like Namit brings this information, we see the value, we see the success, we see how input turns around. I think better designs from everyone in the audience, but also I think everyone in the audience should be looking to ask these kind of questions. So to be driving this kind of conversation and asking any of our other customers, similar things if this is missing, right? So things to think about, things to drive around, just like what's the kind of research any of us as designers should be doing to understand the problem, and again, look to delight the customer. So
Thank you, Adam. You summarized it very well. Please.
uh, this one.
Yep. So this is an example of a request you might get. You might get a very simple request that I have Beth. She's a sales manager at Best Buy, or she's a sales manager at Lowe's, Home Depot, or at T-Mobile, and she needs a dashboard where she can understand what were the sales of her outlet for the day, what were her weekly sales, and what her monthly sales are. And you will say, okay, that's what all Beth does, and that's all what I need to do. But once you look at this picture, you say, oh, by the way, Beth is always on move because she has corporate clients also. So I need to create a dashboard where she can consume this information on the move also. So if you are looking at connected customer or connected employee, you will see that different form factors that a person like Beth can consume your report. So I need to create that report for different form factors, and she's on move. So I need to make sure it is voice enabled. If there are any exception raised, I need to make sure that I can send a text to her Apple Watch. So now you see, I had a request, but now I'm putting myself in Beth's shoes and thinking, if I was Beth, how would I like the experience to look like? How would my journey be? And you start thinking about the ecosystem and creating it. So this is what we did for Bridgestone, where they have all these different personas, and defining the personas and then subsequently mapping it to the services they consume, and then ensuring that overall experience is consistent across the board. So I will showcase a CFO dashboard. Adam, if you can please go to the CFO dashboard.
Will do.
And this was for a company which which had we were proposing a total finance takeover. So imagine this as a Fortune 100 company. Not imagine, it's actually a Fortune 100 company, and they manufacture auto spare parts. And the CFO has some requirements. So now look at the finance company, and these are four different clients that Topcoder has helped with. And this is a summary of four different projects or four different challenges. So CFO organization is basically taking care of all the cash that is coming in, cash that is going out, and has a visibility on the cash flow of our organization. Accounts payable and accounts receivable department is a department which basically says these are all the checks I need to issue, these are all the money transfers I need to issue to pay all the invoices. And then they also say, okay, this is what I have sold to different organization, and this is the money I need to receive. Similarly, month end closing is a very important process for publicly traded companies, where a business says this is how much I have sold. A center of excellence user consolidates all those reports, and the offshore user generates the tax reports, and therefore this organization is able to pay local taxes and the municipal taxes and all those things on a monthly basis. And then lastly, you have a tax accountant who makes sure you paid the local sales tax and all those things. So now you are thinking, I have worked on each pillar in separate Topcoder challenges, and I will talk about the CFO dashboard. So we are talking with the organization, and we are talking with what happens in your organization. And the CFO says, well, I need a dashboard. I said, well, we said, well, sure, we'll give you a dashboard. We excel in creating dashboards. But then we said, but what really happens in your organization? He says, well, I have to go and I have to get this information from 20 Excel spreadsheets. I wish there was some kind of a mechanism where I could get this information, so, and I don't have to open 20 Excel spreadsheets and do tap tap tap. Then we said, well, we will be able to do that, but what happens, like if you see those 20 Excel spreadsheet, what actions do you take? Then he says, well, then I'm able to figure out what is not in line, and I'm able to take proactive action. So for example, someone did not load something, or someone did not report, or a branch did not tell me their sales number, or a bank has inadequate cash. I get to know all those informations. And we continue talking saying, please explain, please explain, please explain. And the first version of dashboard requirement versus what we actually created is thousands of miles apart. And this just happened because we were we were trying to understand the CFO organization persona. We were trying to understand all the services they require. Then we were trying to bridge that gap and bring it all together. So next one, Adam, please. So what their ask was, show me cash availability in all the bank accounts, show me accounts payable, accounts receivable across multiple geographies, and they wanted to improve the visibility. Next one. So we said, well, the solution is that I will give you three screens, or I will give you three dashboards, or you can say three very interactive drill down dashboards, where I will showcase to you the cash visibility that you have. I will show you what is the total amount that you have to receive, and when do you have to receive by, and what are your top five vendors. I will show you the total accounts that you have to pay, what do you have to pay, what are the top five customers, and some key features. Now, all this all this came after 20 or 30 interactions with the customer, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Initially, they wanted a global view. Then they said, if I give a global view, then how would a regional person know what they are accountable for? So they said, okay, give me a global view, which you see in the third bullet as an enterprise view. And they also said, give me a regional view. So that requirement was never there. As we were interacting, the CFO started talking and said, well, I want the enterprise view, but I want it by region wise also. And that new requirement came just because we asked the question, what are you going to do with this? How will the regional person interact with it? Then the next requirement was enabling a workflow. If I see some discrepancy, how do I communicate? Can I interact through a chatbot? So can I do some kind of forecasting in it? And these are all discrete projects that are coming out of this one assignment. These are your analytics projects. These are your chatbot projects that are coming out just because we started asking the question how you are going to consume it. Adam, if we can jump to the screen. So this is an example. So we wrote this spec up and we said this is what the CFO organization wants, and we basically said this is how it will look, and we presented to the CFO. We said these are the key things that you're looking at. So the first column is the cash visibility, the second column is the account payable, and the third column is the account receivable. And within that you see key KPIs, and these requirements are coming from the customer. And at the top, you will see region. So initially the request was give me a global view or enterprise view. And then it became, no, give me a regional view. So, and that is how we were able to curate this for different regions. Next one. So if you click on one of the columns, and in this case, we clicked on the cash visibility column, it explodes into its own landing page, and it shows you that this much money you have in your bank. This is your outstanding tax liability. This is your bank movement, how much cash came in, how much cash went out, and things like that. And at the bottom of the screen, you can see that we have, yeah, please continue, Anna. At the bottom of the screen, you see that we have made it interactive. During the discussions that request or that need came out, that while I'm looking at a dashboard, I should be able to share that dashboard and have a real-time collaboration. Next one. This is the account payables dashboard. And if you go to the next screen, here you see that we are interacting via chatbot. Now in the old world, when this was not available, this would have been an Excel spreadsheet, multiple Excel spreadsheets, tabbing along those Excel spreadsheets, doing some manual calculations with hand, then finding out who do I need to reach out to for a dispute with Ford, and then take it forward. In the new world, all this is coming up seamlessly, presented to you in a very efficient manner, and it is also bringing exceptions to your notice. So everything that is normal or that is as it's supposed to be, we are displaying it, but we are also highlighting those exceptions. Next slide.
Namit, I know we only have a few more minutes here. One of the things I would like to ask is, now that you've been part of the Topcoder process here, multiple variations, concepts, and of course, the way you think about design, FO dashboard, like when you were presenting this and talking to the customer about these designs, what was that interaction? How was their reaction? And kind of like, the way you express, looking to get it to have a happy customer, right? But you're also showing them a variety of ideas driven by what's, the personas that you're pushing. So can you kind of tell the designers out there a little bit of like the customer experience that you have, like talking about their design, sharing their designs, sharing this process?
Definitely. Thank you, Adam, for asking that question. When I showcased this to them, they were like this is exactly what we want. They were like kids inside a toy store that you take them to Toys R Us on Times Square and say, buy whatever you want. They were so happy to see this. And then they started talking about wondering why they did not do this, or wondering why they had not reached this point so far. So their next question was, how fast can you deploy this? And we said, like 3 to 6 months. They were like, can you start on this work from tomorrow? And we said, yes, definitely we can. And so we reached this point not based on just the client interviews, but extensive research on what dashboards are, what are the compliance issues, like so compliance issues as in if I don't pay the municipal tax for a month, the local municipal can shut down my office in North America. So those are the compliance issues, and extensive research going into making the job easier. Now here at the screen you are seeing the system suggestion. That is I have a tool in the background which says this is an exception, and I am recommending that you take this action on this exception. When I show this to client, they say, well, this is a manual activity. We will sort on past due bills or invoices, and then the clerk will process those. And I will say, why are you doing that? How about I give you a dashboard where it is already sorted, and oh, by the way, when you click on that, also tells you what action you need to take on that. And I have listed all the exceptions in the back, and I have listed the recommended action for those exceptions in the back. And via design, I'm just telling the end user that this is what you're supposed to do. That's all I'm doing. I'm not changing their financial transactions. I'm not doing anything other than just highlighting via design that this is the next best action you need to take. So when I showcase this to the clients, and I see their faces smiling, and I see that a person who does this job manually would spend 16 to 18 minutes on each invoice because they're trying to figure out what it is, what I need to do, and when I need to do. And I'm short circuiting all this process via design and highlighting that this is what you need to do, this is the recommended action, and I pop it out to them. The expression on client face is just amazing.
Awesome. So I know you need to go. So what I would like to ask is I'd like to bring you back maybe for an hour at another time where we maybe do more of a design workshop with the community. Kind of, I think your insight into the business processes on this plus design would be a huge influence and impact on the designers that we have out there. So
Definitely, I would love that opportunity, and I have to say it's my privilege to work with all of you. I've worked with so many of you, and the experience I get to learn so much from you guys. So I would love to come back, share my experiences, learn from you more, and be more valuable and relevant to our clients.
great. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great morning. Thanks, Namit. Okay. If anybody has any questions, I can answer some of them, and then I can also send any questions off to Namit. Sorry, he did have a meeting that he was not able to move that came up, so he had to go jump on that. But hey, anytime that we can be driving more business and bringing more projects in, then I'm all for him jumping off. But what I'd like to do is actually bring him back because, as you can tell, he has a lot of experience and a lot of insight into business processes and what a lot of the big enterprise problems our customers are bringing to us. So I don't know, a lot of what Namit just covered may be overwhelming. Okay, so like there's a lot of terminology, there's a lot of persona-driven items that he's now in charge of. That they're doing research, not only his group but also within Wipro to drive better understanding and make sure that they're doing the proper research on all these projects. So I thought the value of seeing that, and I think all of you as designers to know that, there is progress and background work being done is definitely critical. I can jump into some of the case studies, but does anybody have any questions right this second? So I think as part of, if anybody participated in the Vulcan series or the CFO dashboard, you would have seen a lot of the persona-driven work. But also what happens is that in these challenges, Namit's very involved in answering the questions, but he's also very involved at the end. So working with whoever the winning designer is or designers to make sure that when he goes and presents to the customer the final story, the final interaction, that everything is very detailed. You know, there isn't Greeking of copy. Like it makes sense. The story makes sense. The flow makes sense, because it's obviously highly critical that when presenting to, you know, an executive or an enterprise customer like this, that the little details do matter. Let's see here in this case study we do have. So we did the CFO first, and then we have accounts payable, receivable, which Namit started to cover off on. And here was some, and then we also get into the next persona. And looking at what their dashboard is from the business user view and the COE user. So you can see like how everything works across the different views, but also each user has their own specific view that matters to them. The data is being populated to them. So overall, a great Topcoder Wipro case study, and something that Namit drove. I'm going to change my screen here. And if anybody has any questions about the persona-driven process that he has, I'm personally excited to see that you know, that work is continuing. And real quick, I covered this information in a webinar a few weeks ago, but I just lost my window. We do have the Vulcan case study, so I'll share that here again if anybody has any questions or is not familiar with it. But this was a project where we ran 3 rapid user experience challenges back to back. Namit and I did a workshop with the customer. So we were actually traveled, met with the customer. We did a 3-day interactive session with them where we went through personas. We went through the different users that would be interacting with the different systems. This is where Daniela, Darke, our co-pilot, Daniela and Fajar were brought in to help drive the different rapid user experience challenges and the overall project. So these personas that were developed here came from Namit and his division. So this idea of understanding this manufacturing company, the experience on the floor of the factory. So the plant technician, the technician, subject matter expert, and the command center operations manager. So these 3 views, similar to what we just saw on the CFO dashboard, but the idea of a system, an application that is using similar data, but providing different experiences based on those personas, based on how they need to interact with the data and what are the tools and interfaces that they're going to be using. So the first one was a visual collaboration tool. And this was meant to be what would be happening inside the factory. Then we had the nerve center design, and then we also had improvements to the visual collaboration tool. And the visual collaboration tool was going to be something like a HoloLens or RealWear plus an iPad for a virtual subject matter expert who would be helping the person in the plant. So the first challenge was focused on the plant technician. So taking the outputs from that workshop with the customer, taking Namit's persona-driven details, and then putting this into our rapid user experience challenge to ask all of you as designers to spend 3 days focused on not all the information and research we had, but very specific nuggets around the personas and the screens that we were looking to do. Okay. Any questions? Vicky, you're asking, can we expect this kind of persona handling in other projects as well? Well, definitely from Namit. So obviously, I would love to see this persona-driven work from everyone. I think a lot of it from our side is more about what's the form or what's the questions and details that we're asking a customer to fill out. The first thing is we want to make sure a customer wants to work with all of you. And then, of course, we want to make sure that the questions we're asking get the details that we need, but it is also not overwhelming. So customers come to us from a wide range of knowledge. So some like Namit, who are very detailed and very focused, and his day-to-day job is focused on this persona development. And then we have some customers that come in and they just need to get something done, and there is no understanding of what the background and details, personas, use cases, anything that would be wireframes, anything that would be necessary for driving successful outcomes. And I think all of you experience this depending on the details that are in the brief. But from a Topcoder perspective, I think with the bringing back spec reviews, the design and review board is going to work to continue to improve this, is my view on that. Yeah, and Aviv, yeah. So it was they were fun ruxes, at least even from my view, from putting them together. But user journey maps, yeah, exactly. So I think those are the things that myself and Isa and Anthony and Sunita and Vignesh are always asking customers, or we're working to try and put some of that material together. But as we all know, decisions end up coming down to budget and time. But I think, as I said, we will continue to improve that, and I think continuing to work with and encourage customers like Namit will also improve it. Okay. Reminder, and I think I definitely am going to see if I can get Namit to come back for just maybe an hour-long design session, and maybe ask everyone out there who's here to maybe we set up early questions, because I think his insights into how he goes about doing things would be a great session. Mohammed just asked, is the dark theme for the dashboard favorite for most of the Topcoder custom clients? No, it's not. And I think as designers, we definitely like the dark theme. I think Apple has obviously made it a lot easier now to implement dark themes. But I think it needs to be understood. So from your view as a designer, what is, and go into the personas, what's the environment that screens are going to be viewed in? So some of the command center stuff, yes, the dark theme is definitely critical. I think in the case of the CFO dashboard, that dark theme, I think there may have been a dark and light theme that was created as part of that. So I wouldn't just default to dark or light. I think understanding the user and understanding the ask is critical. While the dark theme, I think at times may be more pleasing for us as designers to say that's a nice looking design, I think the understanding of the environment and how the user is going to use that interface is critical. So my first thing would be research, understand the user, and then provide a solve to that problem. Yoki, can we have a design webinar at least once a month? Hey, I'm all for trying. So I think bringing in different customers to go ahead and do that would be a great a great ask. So I think Jesse and team, keep me honest on that, and let's see if we can make something like that happen. I'll try and bring in different customers. Okay, so we jumped into this webinar kicking off with the customer because he was only available for the first 30 minutes. I'm going to wrap things up real quick on Design Month and the continuing things that we're doing here. As a reminder for anyone who's new and joining this webinar, this is typically what I might present in the beginning, but just a reminder, why we're here. So we are Topcoder Design. We're a global design community focused on solving real-world graphic design and user experience problems through the collective creativity of crowdsourcing, through this awesome design community that is here. So Topcoder Design, we are challenge-based process, so competition, where designers submit their concepts or solutions for critique and feedback by customers like Namit. And so in a typical situation, Namit is driving the feedback at the checkpoint and final, and then he may be presenting to his customer. So he's kind of a customer of a customer. Sometimes he may be the customer, and that customer is also involved in the process. So it's really kind of how he wants to engage and provide that feedback to you as designers. But it's also about delighting that customer and, of course, securing the work from that customer. In our design process, I promote design education, open design thinking. This idea of open design thinking is collaboration by sharing and working with each other's designs, being inspired by each other, seeing what other creatives are creating, and knowing that through an open design thinking process that maybe you're now inspired and you might be able to put a spin on that and do something else with it. And it's also about challenging ourselves, the design process and the way we work together as a design community. When I talk about open design thinking and innovation, one of the things that stands out to me is we just had our bracket challenge this last Friday. So we just ran last Friday the Topcoder Rapid UI design tournament, which was an amazing experience. We had 34 members that we put in a bracket. We seeded them. And at the very end of it, Yoki was our winner. And so congratulations to Yoki for surviving after 34, 34 designers were seeded. He defeated 6 designers to become our first Rapid UI Design Tournament Bracket Challenge champion. And then we also had in second Rajesh, and then Tong and Pixroom. So this idea that one-on-one battles were hosted and created, and we ended up having our final 4 and, of course, our champion. But the thing is that came out of this, and I thought Tong actually expressed it during our live session, was the inspiration by seeing some of the designs, seeing what Yoki came up with out of his battle. So this idea of open design thinking and being inspired by each other, and the sharing of design, and the sharing of design theory, and the sharing of what continues to evolve as better design and better experiences. So very, very inspired by the Rapid Design tournament that we just ran, and I'm looking forward to doing more of those. And I hope everyone out there had a great experience. I thought it definitely added to our design month, and I think there's a lot of potential for continuing to do this bracket challenge. Going back, design month. So this is our 3rd week. We have next week where we're going to do a recap and cover on prizes. Reminder to everyone, this design month is in celebration and memory of GH3, Diablo Gerald. We definitely miss him. He was an inspiration to me, to many of us. His passion for all things that we do here at Topcoder, and his passion for communicating with all of you and educating, and obviously his passion for his family. So definitely miss him, and I want to continue to remind everyone that this design month and all future design months will be in memory of him. Okay. Many of you are still competing right this minute on Jesse's Design Month Dash. I think that is wrapping up this 2nd round. Look forward to the 3rd round. We just did the bracket challenge last Friday. Again, that was a lot of fun. I think we had upwards of 25 plus people on the Zoom webinar, the Zoom session, over a 5-hour period. Thank you to Sandika for jumping in and being an impromptu DJ on that, and of course Daniela for being my color for providing color commentary throughout. I know she wasn't expected to do that, so it was kind of fun to look at all the matchups and kind of get our kind of figure out how we're going to do it for next time. The fun meme challenge is also wrapped up, so the judging should be going on for that. And remember, everyone, go out take a look at Thrive, learn all that you can in our Thrive area on the site, and continue to jump in and earn points to be on the leaderboard here over the last week of the month. We should be launching. I'm planning on launching a challenge. Definitely by Sunday. It may be a fast challenge. I was hoping for a Rux, but it may be a fast challenge. And then I think I may still have a Rux coming, but we're working on the logistics of making that happen. So these next 10 days or so may be interesting and busy. So at least I hope so. Oh, there we go. Do we get to see the final T-shirt design yet? I'm not sure which T-shirt you are talking about, but oh, from Jesse's design. We'll have to follow up with Jesse, I think.
Yeah, definitely, guys. I think we're going to do a blog post to show, because there were so many great designs. So we'll probably put up a blog post showing off all the designs and then which one we selected to print.
Jesse's design month. Round 3. Jesse, is that still planned for the 24th? Just to confirm.
Yep. It'll launch Sunday.
Okay. As we may be running a fast design challenge, so hey, it will be busy. And I think that is going to be it. So, anyone have any questions here for the last few minutes of our Workshop Wednesday? I know the Namit session was a little quick there, but I hope just hearing him, the information he had, and of course the amount of detail was beneficial. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I'll give everyone 10 minutes back. I thank you for joining us today. So we currently have Yoki at the top. So I think over the next few days, we're going to start seeing more points come in and the work come in. So, and as I said, be ready. I have a fast challenge coming and hopefully possibly a Rux. So maybe a busy end of the month. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope this was insightful and helpful for you. And looking forward to our Workshop Wednesday next week.